I'll hit these buttons. Out of the go live, make things work buttons. Probably. Greetings, everyone. Time for Discussing Tabletop. It is, of course, November 11th, 2023. Deep into November now, everybody. Exciting. So we have some topics to talk about today. I'm a little low energy. Don't mind me. Hopefully, Worm, you can make up for my low energy today.
I'm medium energy.
That's more than I have.
Understandable.
I had a long afternoon. That sounds good. It was just it ended up being a much longer afternoon than I was planning. Because normally I get some things done, I get home, I can relax a little bit, and then run back out again to finish more stuff. And it was all just, I was out until like 5 o'clock and came back and put food in the oven, and I'm slowly eating it now. But how was your day? That's a question I can ask.
Good. Finished up a Baldur's Gate stream. It's all done today. Oh yeah, the government's like, hey, we don't believe you deserve a tax return. Send us more information, and if you don't get your tax return. That's a fun thing that happens.
Thanks, government.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we should get started on this list of stuff, because there's a bunch of things to talk about. And we can start with, I've seen a number of MTG people talk about it, but I wanted to bring it up because I think it's this idea of Wizards is going so hog on milking money for Magic the Gathering. It's just weird. So, didn't know, there are two things going on in the Magic the Gathering world. There's another Magic the Gathering topic, but this is the setup for this one. We're having a pre-release of the actual new set, like now, this weekend. Lost Caverns of Ixalan, go to the pre-release, release next week, right coming out. What do? Last weekend, last Friday, technically, they released this, but I learned about it this week. They had a Lord of the Rings holiday release. What is this? Well, it's mostly a bunch of reprints from their Lord of the Rings set, some cards that are reprinted from Magic that have Lords of the Ring art and names like they've done before, and some new stuff. Not a lot of new stuff, but some. And they're doing it in two sets of products. They are doing it in collector's boosters with $300, or like $35 scene boxes, where they have these sets of special art cards that like create a scene. Those are neat. They aren't valuable. I saw a financial breakdown of at least the scene boxes. Only 1 out of 4 of them, you could just buy the single cards for it and have them all. You know, only one, it would be more expensive to buy the single cards. All the rest of them are less expensive. And those include new cards. You know, like new actual cards. There are 24 unique cards that they put together for those scene cards. So the scene stuff is... It's at that point in time where it's not enough of a, like, poor value that I would say, like, if you really like the art, cool, you can buy it there. You can also just, again, buy it individually. And then fucking $300 collector's boosters, which is, like, pretty much just the stuff they already put out, sans the One Ring. And this is all weird and bad all of its own. I think my entire thing about it is, why 1 week before your pre-release? You're kind of probably either going to get shafted financially for something like this, especially a $300 product, 1 week ahead of a pre-release, and it's going to be shafted, or it's going to damage the pre-release. One or the other. We don't know what it's going to be. Are people going to really want the Lord of the Rings collector's thing and spend all their money on those? Or are they going to spend it on the Ixalan and not planning on spending it? We don't know! Wizards doesn't tell us anything. They just pretend. They just close their ears and they're like, buy these expensive products.
Yeah, I mean, the box art's kind of cool.
I can link the wiki article because it's got a lot of stuff on it. Because I didn't find it like. So there maybe I can find the product page actually too.
I mean, I found a WPN. I think it's Wizard product news.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's WPN at wizards.com.
The holiday release stuff. I'm just trying to find a good article on it. The TGC player has an article.
To be fair, the article I found is a holiday release from September 22nd. So apparently this isn't just an announcement.
Did they talk about the? They did talk about it before. So they did mention it before. But I think it's the thing that it's like, I never heard about it because, again, like, I check the Magic website directly. It's hard to see what products are upcoming unless they have articles about it. And this is one that just didn't have an article or talk about it on their actual website. Wizards Magic the Gathering website.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, it's also nice because it actually shows the prices.
But the thing is, those prices are the ones chosen by the community because there isn't a real MSRP.
Oh,
Wizards doesn't give that. You know, that's the big thing about it. There is no actual MSRP that they give for any of their products. So, people guesstimate what things are supposed to be worth and sell them for guesstimations.
Well, yeah, that's how market works, and then... Yeah, but...
Yeah, but, I mean...
It's money grabby as always. This is why I never plan to get into Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. I
want to play it at some point, but you can play it without having to buy cards.
There are plenty of sources nowadays that you can. And I mean, like, things like this that are really cool art are neat. Like, the scenes are actually pretty neat. I'm not going to lie. Like, the 3-art scenes are interesting idea.
Yeah.
And them not having value isn't something I'm going to complain about necessarily. It's just the fact is, also this scene box, some of the value is made up by packs. And, like, not any packs, just Tales of Middle-earth packs.
Yeah.
So... I want them to actually put something out there. They used to put stuff out there that it felt like the products at least had equivalent value to the packs you're buying, you know, or something like this. This doesn't feel like that too much. Except for the one that actually has some value. I don't know. It's putting out a product like this just 2 weeks ahead of a major release. I don't know what's gonna, like, what effects it's gonna have on these products. And I feel like it's bad marketing, or it's just so thinking that everybody can spend the money. I don't know which it is. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a thing.
If the cards interest you, you can buy a lot of them for pretty cheap individually. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of them have a market value of nothing. There's like one card that, well, actually there is like one card that actually has value. It's like what is this here? I saw it. Legolas's Quick Reflexes, which is $21 right now because it's actually a pretty damn good card. So it has price. The rest of them, really, you could just buy them individually, not spend as much if you really want these things. I mean, that one even when you can. So, but that's from the one that's like the only one that has actual price to make it worth it. So. But I did want to bring up something else related to Magic because it's interesting because they've been changing out terminologies and types. Now, the entire thing is they're bringing back Contiue, which is an older set, to Arena, so they're updating some of the cards. Like, and some of these updates are fine, Doing things like changing a Rakshasa to no longer be a cat subtype, or like a they're moving away from some other ones like that. They're moving away from types. Nagas are no longer snakes, you know. But the thing is,
well, no, it says snakes will replace Naga as a subtype.
Oh, snake will replace Naga as a subtype. Sorry,
also,
that's the one.
Also, this kind of came up on your stream earlier, your pre-stream earlier. I looked into it.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the reason Naga is a bad word now is because World of Warcraft players have gotten in the habit of using Naga to replace the N-word.
Oh, fuck you, World of Warcraft!
Yep. So it's a thing that came about in World of Warcraft.
Oh
and
my
now they're having
God.
to ban the word on things like Twitch and stuff.
Oh my god! Well, the thing is, they right now didn't ban Naga. They, like, earlier today, I streamed, and, like, Nagah, which is the serpent folk from, World of Darkness, were-serpents, was not allowed in my title, but Naga, just the actual mythical creature, was for now, but they might also ban that eventually because of World of fucking Warcraft.
It may have been unbanned partially, like maybe the H one was banned, and that maybe like because so when I looked into it, this is from 2019 is when the first one, because apparently Naga was banned for a while, because and now I guess maybe that one's not, but the one with the H on the end is, because maybe something switched. I don't know. But that's
it could also be like, well, it could also be like because of reason they unbanned the one. But because they unbanned multiple ones, they just ignore the other ones and forget about it because Twitch is not there.
Yeah.
But
that could happen too, yeah. It stopped being a thing,
So it's this weird thing that they're moving Nagas away, but then they're also like moving Rakshasa away from cats. But including Nagas into snakes. It's this weird thing that, like, I don't always understand the typing.
Well,
but also the
cat as a subtype in general. So we're removing cat as a subtype. Oh, for the creatures below. Never mind. Yeah, that's just never mind. I didn't read far enough ahead in that sentence.
No, it's fine. It's like they're also working away from.
Probably because they're also they're cat demons, so they're not just. So they're probably going to stay just demons.
Yeah. Well, they're also moving away from the tribal type to kindred.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tribal is. I can see where that can be offensive. Part of me is just all like, how do you keep track of what's offensive in this culture? Like, I don't.
I'm gonna say, theoretically, on its own, it's one of those words that shouldn't be offensive, and especially if anybody of sense looks at the way it's being used. Because it's an actual word. If it's being used offensive, complain to the people who are using it offensively. Magic never did. And I'm getting pissed off at that. You know, I'm sorry. Yes, things can be used offensively. That's bad! Complain to the people who are using it offensively, not the people that aren't! Don't punish all of us for some people!
No, generally, see, that's the thing, is generally, when you want to ban offensive stuff, you want to ban stuff that's like, specific words for a group of people or subtype. You know, like, or not subtype. Sorry, group of people or subculture. You know, like, so, you know, a good example is the word Eskimo. You know, they're the Inuit. That's what they refer to themselves as. Eskimo has always been kind of derogatory. You know, obviously you got the N word, which actually used to be the acceptable word until movement switched it around, or black used to be fun fact, black used to be offensive, the N-word used to not be, and then that got switched at one point during the Civil Rights Movement.
Well, it's people using things offensively, you know?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Words change, language change.
Yeah.
The idea of offensive words, I don't think we should just remove things because some people find it offensive. Like, the idea, because I think where the idea of some of this is like, oh, it's cultural appropriation. It's like, yeah, it's a whole own thing that uses words that are similar, and yeah, some of those words may have come from certain places, but they're not, but they still describe a thing. Like, the word totem totem armor or umbral armor will replace totem armor. Like, totem is a word. It means something.
A totem is a thing. Whether or not it's used by a specific culture, there are plenty of cultures that use totems. More than just, Native Americans. Yes, totem poles are a very big thing that, you think about. But many, 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 many cultures use totems. It's fine. Umbra armor's not bad. But I think it's the entire thing that, like, the idea that tribal is not a great word also, because there's plenty of tribes out, and tribe as a word. Is it supposed to be referring to people that are lesser or people that are more primitive? Is that the kind of thing? Because you could, I don't know. I understand it could probably be used in a weird way, but I feel like this is a bigger problem within Wizards. It's the same washing out of stuff that they've been doing with D&D, and now it's hitting Magic in a way. And it's not that we can't find some of these things used in a bad way or offensively. And I'm not saying that. And maybe it is appropriate to change some of these, but I feel like sometimes I look at it and I question it a little bit. Because okay, yeah, the thing is, they're saying it's because of totem poles in the Pacific Northwest indigenous people.
Yeah.
And
totem is just a word that means something that's a symbol for something else. Same as like a talisman, totem.
If you called it totem pole armor, that would be bad. It was just totem armor. A totem and a totem pole are two different things. Anyway, I don't want to...
It does have more, it is from, etymology-wise, it is from, like, a thing. It is from more indigenous words, so it was appropriated from that. So maybe you could, but I'm still kind of like, it's still a word. It's been, let me put it this way, it's been used since I'm looking at etymology right now. Like, it's been used since the 1800s, but it's been used commonly in common vernacular since, like, the 1875-ish. So it's been used for more than 100 words or 100 years.
Yeah.
Is that all because of problems? I doubt it. That's not.
I think it's also like, it's kind of, this is the reverse almost. Totem as a word has increased the definition of what it is to represent a lot more. And it's been used in a lot of other ways. I've heard it used in a lot of other ways, of like things like some kind of totem. And, and I think that's the thing is, having expanded that, looking just to one group and maybe that origin is kind of then rude almost to the English language in a way. And yes, this is an argument that I'm not saying that, if someone from one of these indigenous people would tell me, hey, I don't like you using the word totem, I could talk with them about it. And the thing is, I wouldn't capitulate right away. I would talk to them and understand, because totem, I feel like, there's plenty of words that are really bad out there that if you told me, don't use those kind of things, I'd be like, no, let's stop. This one doesn't feel like that, and I just want to understand why it is offensive to them, if it is. And that is understanding, which is discussion, and then we can talk about it, and then if it is something that, like, really makes sense, I would say, like, okay, yeah, we can change that. But then it would be like, well, okay, make your point. And, is it the entire people as a whole? Is it an individual? Because there's so many issues with unfortunateness that, happens a lot, that you have to look at, what offends groups of people as a whole and not individuals in certain way. I'm not describing it very well.
Here's what I would say. I think it's a lot to, like, there are certain subculture movements that, like, want to ban anything that has a link to, like, certain things. Like, totem is a very general word. Tribe actually goes, like, way beyond indigenous people, by the way. It actually means, like, a family. And it actually derives from the word tri, meaning three, in Latin. So it's like a group. That's literally what it means.
There are tribes of people from all around the world.
Yeah. I mean, biblically, tribes of Israel is a thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
It's a Bible thing. Tribes of I've heard it used in so many different ways. So yeah, that one's just like that one's 100% a word, just because like it's sometimes used badly. Anyway, my thing is just like there are people who just want to ban anything that has any relation to anything that they dislike, and if we trying to appease everyone, we're gonna run into problems eventually. I mean,
it's common sense, I think.
Yeah, I think like let's take Naga for example. Actually, the thing is they're replacing Naga with Snake. So apparently there wasn't one before, or was there a snake before, or was it just...
Oh, there have been snakes around. There are plenty of snakes.
They're clumping it in.
They're clumping it in now.
And now, so, Rashaka are just going to be demons and not cats.
I mean...
That might, yeah.
That one, because they're kind of portrayed more demon-y, they're just feline in shape, I'm okay with that, you know?
Yeah.
That one's fine.
I don't know...
Because I'm more aware of the lore, too. So.
Yeah. But, like, are they doing it for mechanical reasons to like help include like Nagas and snakes to be more things, or are they doing it for inclusiveness because of something that happened in a subgroup on one game you know? Yeah, it spread enough to where Twitch had to ban it, but like, you know, is that why? If that's the reason why, or is it just to add clarification and lump them into this subtype?
I mean, in this case, there are only there aren't that many Naga cards overall throughout the entire Magic history. So one of the things they have done is make less types. And that is a thing that they do. And so they could have looked at this, especially with the reprint onto online, and said to themselves, you know what? We have enough. We really need to... We don't really need this as an extra type. We can subtract one. And that could be something that they did. Because again, like, they've done that a lot. And kind of like, you know... combine a bunch of types together into certain things, you know, like a lot of animals that were unique animals ended up in the beast category. So there are beasts now, you know, rather than more individual things a lot of times in the errata. But it's this, I guess the term tribal instead of tribe is what we should really look at. And I can see how that particular version of it can be maybe used negatively.
The term tribal has been used. Like, the term tribe is pretty neutral. Tribal generally refers to someone who is tribal, and that usually brings about, like, a savage or a...
It's used in a way that's very looked down upon. So, changing... It's a weird kind of thing that there's two kind of sides to this word that they're changing it to. And I have nothing actually against the idea of the kindred subtype. That's fine. It's just sort of like... I feel like by going back and kind of altering this in a way, it's sort of like...
You almost make it offensive.
Yeah. You're basically giving in to this thing because... I don't know. It's in this weird position for that. And, you know, again, they do say, like, the idea it's cultural tribes to primitive, native, savage people in people's look. And that's why there's a lot of other...
Did you find something?
I found someone talking about it.
Yeah, I just found Magic's... Oh, wait, no, that's the article
I found, I went to there was also a Dice Breakers article other than the Wizards article that like explained through like what they're thinking it is a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
I mean, I can just assume based on the words.
I think the thing that maybe gets me the most out of this is I think there are better words that are not as possible to turn to offensive, like tribal, that mean the same thing, and kindred doesn't really mean the same thing. In a way. A tribe is a group. Kindred is a bloodline. It's technically similar, but they do mean different things. And you could just be like, just call them like clans. Or I don't know. I don't know what other terms there could be for this to replace it. But I don't know. It's this weird point in time with Magic that I guess, with Wizards of the Coast in general, I guess things like this I second guess a lot more because I worry that they're doing a lot more like random capitulation or basically washing everything down to like neutral, which I've seen when it's done to Faerun lore. I don't like what it's done to Faerun lore, so I guess that's why I worry about stuff with magic. That's kind of where I'm at.
Also, yeah, they don't use tribal, like, I'm looking at some card examples, and it's like, they don't use it that, like, they don't use it, I mean, in one situation I saw, they used it with, like, an indigenous kind of looking thing. But everything else has just been, like, cool swords or a cool weapon that doesn't have anything to do with,
It's supposed to be like a certain type of thing. It was supposed to be grouped together, and there were things that interact with the idea of tribe. Again, like it's changing the word is not the problem. It's I think I understand the reasoning behind changing the words. It's just like I feel like Wizards themselves doesn't explain it well, and they usually go they don't go equivalent. They go very off in a weird direction, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like Kindred, like it just doesn't feel like a good replacement for it. I think that's where it is kind of in my mind.
Yeah.
Because also, like,
I don't know. Umbral seems okay to me because, like, the idea is, as far as I'm looking, is like spiritual. So it's kind of.
I mean, that's fine. Like again, yeah. Again, that one I do agree with you. It's like it's fine for a change for that one because that's the kind of way that the totem armor mechanic works. They were kind of spirit armor, and Umbral sounds neat.
Yeah, they literally use Umbral. Like most of the things that have totem armor have an Umbral in their name. Umbral Mammoth, for example, has totem armor. Has an effect. So it's like, that one totally fine. You're just literally, it's like it's already kind of part of the word, but again, it's by making us speculate is actually, I think, probably the biggest issue is they're not explaining it. Reasoning.
I had to go to another article to explain it, and even then, like, I look at that and I say to myself, it's sort of like the totem poles. I'm like, yeah, totem poles are a specific thing, but totem as a word is been broken away from that in general vernacular. So I'm questioning it a lot more. Like, I don't mind the change, I'm questioning why they had to change. It's their excuse is okay, but it's not really a great excuse. It's just sort of, it feels more of a change for the sake of change, rather than change for the sake of, like, actually caring about someone's culture.
Yeah, it's 100% change to try and not out... the change is literally 100% to not...
offend someone?
To not weed out potential customers. I don't know how to say that. That's literally the 100% reason why. 100,000%.
It's just so weird. And, like...
It's like...
okay, it's also like...
I tend to have...
Tribal as a word is a very descriptive word. It's a tribal card. If I say a kindred card, kindred as a word is not descriptive, though, too, is the other thing, too. Which is, I think that's another reason why it feels unnatural to me. It's sort of like...
It's just... Kindred doesn't fit. I'm looking at these cards, it's like Kindred instant versus Tribal instant, and it's all like... a lot of changelings have tribal attached to them. Changeling effects or whatever.
Well, it's from Lorwyn, because it was, in Lorwyn, so it was the tribes of Lorwyn. Those are the different groups. Yeah. And it was where the tribal concept came about, where you would play specifically these type of creatures and have mechanics that would interact with having creatures of the same type. That's what tribal was supposed to be. So something more akin to, like, maybe like a word like... I used clan, but I know there's probably a better word out there. I'm sure there's another better word for group that... I don't know if, like... Kindred feels very, like, watered down. It's again, like, they watered down the Drow. In a very, like, wow, that's just, super watered down. You could have made a much better story about it instead of just like, it happened, You could have been like, there was a massive war, and, this entire thing, and they managed to oust Loth and stuff like that. And you're just like, it was always something minor. And I'm like, I would have much rather had a story about it that you could explore, or something that would have been like, there was a revolution and they improved themselves, because that sounds like better change for characters and beings that are traditionally evil. They might still be evil, but they're like, that's kind of extreme for me. So they would have been like moving from chaotic evil to maybe neutral evil, which is still, and that's alignment-based stuff, but like, they're not great people still, but they're moving away from like the most extremes of their culture, which is a good story and could actually be interesting instead of just saying things are done. And I feel like that's a lot of it. They just do without saying.
Hand wave it.
And I feel like that's what the word kindred is, hand waving a lot. And again, I have no idea what a better word would be. I would have to like look it up. Like,
honestly, I think clan is very good because clan is pretty much synonymous. You could also do, I don't know. Clan honestly works. There's probably other ones, but thesaurus.com. But yeah, I just wanted to say the problem is trying to make things that trying to change things in order to not offend easily offended people will never work, because easily offended people find things to be offended about no matter what. Now, there's actually trying to not be offensive, but generally, it's as long as you're not being a complete asshole, you're not going to be you're probably going to succeed there. If you're a reasonable human being, you will probably succeed with that.
Because, I can heavily agree there's some dark connotations with some stuff in favorite lore, and working away from that and improving that kind of lore is not a bad idea, especially if you want to have an evolving world which reflects more of our times here. But I just feel like sometimes for that one, just come up with a good reason behind it, or a story behind it, or something like, just don't do it. Like, don't tell, don't show. Maybe that's what it is. I want to know why this is done. And again, this is another thing, is I have to go to other sources to hear why they're making these changes that they don't really talk about. I want them to discuss it and say, like, hey, we had some complaints from some people, so we decided to do this. We had a discussion with some people about it and their culture. If they told us that, I'd be like, boom, get rid of Totem. And, then they're like, hey, we've been hearing some things about some people being very mean, using the words tribal and very derogative terms in culture lately. And, we want to work away from that. We just thought to go with something very, very generic, kindred. Like, even if they say they wanted to go with very generic, I just want words from them instead of, especially something that, like this. I want a little bit more.
By not making any statement about it, they're literally just making themselves out to seem like they're just these people who are all like, oh, someone said something bad, we can't lose those customers, let's change it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot more petty, it's just like, oh, we're gonna do a small announcement, we're not gonna make a big deal out of it, we're just gonna change it. It's like, well, now when I see this card, I'm like, wait, what does this mean? How does this compare with this other card that I have, which I had before? Now you have to look it up, and then it brings your attention to it.
Yeah. Looking up stuff on the Gatherer is fine for, like, if you have something that's a little confusing. I want to try to do that as minimum as possible. And changing a card type that exists is a big move for a lot of people that have tribal cards. I've used some. I have decks
tribal also seems
that
like
would
it's
be
much
considered
bigger than like cat. Cat seems like the reason they're getting rid of it is because they just don't have a lot of names. Honestly, is what it seems like.
Goblin, Merfolk, Zombie all have tribal stuff. There's a lot of other types that do. Elf has a whole bunch of stuff based around it. There were some ones that were specifically for Lorelin, like the Changelings and Kithkins, and also Giants, Elementals. A lot of these, if I make a Merfolk deck, it's technically a tribal deck. If I make an Elf deck, it's technically a tribal deck. It's calling it a Kindred deck, that's fine, whatever. But again, it's sort of like this, or a Clan deck or something like that. It's fine. I can have
probably tame it. Clan is probably the tamest other synonym I found, or at least one that because the other ones are like caste, society.
Yeah, those are hard ones. Those are a little harder to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Clan would work, though. Clan would work just fine.
Because I think it's sort of like, it implied that they were... It always implied they were a more unified group than just, we share blood. And I think that's another thing I liked about the entire thing. And I do have clan-based decks, I will say. They work together, and types matter for a lot of those decks, you know? They have effects. And some of them have the word tribal on them. Some of them don't. Plenty of them don't, because it doesn't show up in a lot of places. So it's sort of like... It's a weird thing, because they're changing a keyword, a type, and a concept pretty heavily and making it generic. And I just, again, when you're making a big change, I think, and it doesn't sound like a big change, but it kind of is in there too, because there's an entire format called Tribal, where you're supposed to play just one of an entire thing. Will it change its name to Kindred? Maybe. You know, if it is something that's going to be used offensively, I don't mind the change. I just want something that explains why they're doing it and makes me reassured that they're not doing it for like just what they did to D&D.
That's probably what they're doing to D&D. Honestly, the Umbra one, that one actually, like, when I looked at the cards, I realized, okay, this one actually makes sense from gameplay, because every card that has the Totem Armor effect has Umbra in the title. So, calling it an Umbra Armor effect actually makes sense. I was worried, like, so that one actually seems like it's a clarification thing to tie the ability to the card types.
Yeah, no, that's, again, like, I seeing the word Umbral on that, I also kind of was like, you know, that can work fine, you know?
Yeah,
and
I didn't know that when I first looked at it, which is always like, why are you associating it with that? But that one makes sense.
Yeah, it made sense in a different way. So it's like, the word that replaces it, it's a fine word. It's, again, just like, I'm curious as to where the offense or something that was going on, and with a word that's, yes, associated with a word that can be appropriation, but is used in a more general vernacular now. Again, it was like that curiosity of like the choices they make sometimes.
Yeah, adding, like, narrowing Naga down to Snake actually makes sense when I realize, okay, they have been trying to limit their subtypes for a while now. But the tribal one, it's like, there doesn't seem to be a good reason for that one. It seems to be not offensive. And then when you put that in with the other two, you're like, wait, are they trying to not be offensive for all of these? And I think that's what's hard.
And I know, like, yes, like, half of the words of Totem oftentimes is looked at as being spiritually significant, oftentimes a lot more on that, honestly, tribal side. But there are plenty of people that are practitioners of a lot of, you know, more unique faiths or ideas that use totems that are perfectly fine in conjunction with the modern world, and it's a sensibility to kind of be like that you're appropriating that word that is kind of like, it feels like you're, rather than being nice to them, you're being almost like pandering a little bit. Maybe that's what I'm feeling from that one. I think the Umbra word Umbral is a perfectly fine word. It actually does match the cards very well. I just feel like their just reasoning feels patronizing rather than actually, like, you know, nice to people or something. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Wizards is making great decisions. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't know. I'm going to move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Been on this for a while. I saw Dicebreaker's article about it, that because I didn't end up watching the YouTube video from the 7th, that it was Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford were diving deep into the new books from 2024. So I'm going to put the Dicebreaker's article here, and I will link the YouTube video also if you want to see it for yourself. But from the way they've been saying stuff, apparently they are looking at this new 5e in such a way that it would be a lot more malleable, it sounds like.
I'm also very curious as to what your docket means by D&D not won for another 10 years.
They want to have this new version last another 10 years and basically be a tabletop version of a live service.
Oh, so they want it to be updatable and, like, malleable. Got it.
Yes. Which, having them say that leads to a lot of, like, are you sure that's a great idea? You do not know if being malleable is great for balancing stuff, and that could just break balance very rapidly and very heavily. So, yeah.
I mean, like, let's see. So, you don't need that, though. Because, like, literally, we've had D&D 5e for 10 years, and that's not been malleable or changeable in the same way. I mean, they've added a lot of stuff, and then some stuff has broken other stuff, but, like, not to any great degree.
I think of it this way. Magic the Gathering, if I compare it to that to a little bit, which is a very, very different thing. It is a game that changes as malleable, but the core aspects of it do not change. Core keywords don't change, core concepts don't change, there could be new layers added on top of it. That's not bad. Adding new layers is something that TTRPGs do a lot. But if I'm saying I can go back in and, alter something, what happens to a Magic the Gathering game if I would alter an old keyword of flying? Flying a certain set of rules. If I alter that, I'm completely changing how a lot of mechanics work and how a lot of creatures and things interact. And it could have a lot of...
They're calling it D&D 2024 now.
They are. That's why I'm calling it D&D not 1. It's 1 D&D. I will, keep to that one there. But I understand their want to be able to evolve things and change things because they feel like they can improve themselves very much so. But it's unfortunate that I feel like improvements like that call for new additions or new upgrades or stuff like that, and revamping the rules constantly just because they're compatible doesn't mean they're compatible. I think that's the issue that we can come upon, that if I compare both versions of classes and subclasses to their other ones, playing in a game with both of them, it's not compatible, necessarily. And yes, it's hard to get both of them in the same game, especially if you have people that have the materials. But let's say I'm playing with you and Joe online. You bought the new books. Joe didn't. Joe has to rely on his old player's handbook, or whatever you can find online. You can't find a lot of the other stuff for free online. It's not Paizo. Pathfinder provides all that stuff. You get some of it on the D&D Beyond website.
D&D does put all of their base rules on for free, so their core rule book is you can find all the rules for free online. That is a thing. They're all based, like, I haven't bought anything on D&D Beyond, but I can look at all the base stuff.
Well, I mean, I have looked through a bunch of stuff on D&D Beyond, and it's about half the player's handbook. I've actually tried looking through it.
The thing, there are certain things that they limit. Generally, spells, I think, are one of them. They have all the classes and subclasses.
Nope. The subclasses require stuff. You can only access one.
They don't have all... Okay. Oh, okay, they only have one subclass? I think they had all
per
of them.
class.
Well... Oh. I thought they had all of them. Oh, well.
All of them are on there, but you have to buy the player's handbook to get access to all of them. You can only access one per class.
That's a little dumb. Okay.
Yes!
I feel like moving forward they'd have to do that, but, I mean, they could, actually, that's the thing, they could easily fix it by just making the player's handbook free, online, and then...
Why would they do that? They want to get money from everybody.
People will still buy the freaking books! Everything's online for free anyway!
What are these PDF things? They're just madness. We wouldn't have those. Buy a book twice or 3 times in order to own it.
No, here's the thing, like, I don't even care, like, that's the thing. I could go on. They don't take anything down. They don't not DDoS. What's the word? What's it called when you tell someone that they can't do something anymore? Nintendo does it all the time.
I kind of know what you're talking about, but I also can't think of the word.
Cease and desist. That's the word. Cease and desist. They don't
Yeah.
cease and desist people for posting their stuff online. They don't really care all that much, but they do want to limit, well, with the exception of PDFs of their book.
which I find fine. Like, that's the thing. You can find all the new rules. You're going to be able to find them all online, just on non-official things. Whatever.
Yeah.
So part of me is just a little like, why don't you guys just do that? Increase traffic to your own site, and then advertise your own stuff for people to buy extra stuff.
Like, if they would actually sell PDFs, I'd be so much happier with Wizards. I really would, but they don't.
Okay, like, I'm not even saying sell PDFs. I'm saying put the stuff online for free from the base book on your website.
Basically, pull a Archives of Nethys.
Yes, but only the base book, and then you have to buy expansion. So that way, like, that's what I would do if I were them. Like, it's still not like everything. It's not selling a PDF. If you want to sell a full book, fine. You know, like, you can all have the information all in one book now instead of having to navigate a website. But if you have all the information is going to be on the internet anyway, on things like D&D Wiki and that kind of stuff.
And they claim that both parties of both versions of classes would be fine on the table. But I feel like, having looked at some of the playtest stuff, some of the classes are just intrinsically better than the others, than the older versions of them. Which, yeah.
That they probably already know about. But
You froze up there for a second.
No.
You're still... Oh, there you go.
I'm good.
You're a little freezy.
Okay. Oh, my internet's having some trouble.
Okay.
That should hopefully end quickly. There we go.
Yeah, there it
I'm
goes.
good now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's sort of like I can't remember if New Bard was much better than Old Bard, but let's just give that example. You have Old Bard and New Bard on the same table, which, you know, is again rare, both the same class and stuff like that, but it could happen.
How
You
about
know,
Barbarian, where you actually can sustain a rage without having to smack yourself.
oh yeah, new Barbarian, Old Barbarian, and you get them into an adventure, and those problems with the new one being intrinsically better may just be seen very quickly, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue: is one outclasses the other. That means it's not technically compatible because you have an intrinsically better character. It's the problem that came about and why we standardized stats and stopped rolling them a lot. Because intrinsically you could very easily have that random chance of being better than the other. But this is a built-in, I'm just better. It's why no one plays a goddamn Kobold in 1st edition Pathfinder, plays them in 2nd edition, because they sucked in 1st edition, because they just were terribly built, and worse than anything else.
They had, like, so many negatives, and I'm so sad, because I love Kobolds. But in 2e, they're great.
Oh yeah, to me they're great, and I'm really happy about that, because they're really interesting and fun to play, and I'm glad they kind of corrected that. But that was a leftover of stuff, and I feel like this is almost trying to make it completely compatible, not needing conversion guide, making it just more of the rules. It just feels like it's a misstep in a way. I don't know. I prefer conversion guide too, honestly.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, it's gonna be very close to the same game anyway, which I think is the goal they're going for anyway. But trying to say they're compatible, I'd rather them just make a new fucking thing. Sorry for my language, but it's like, just make a new game, and people can play the old or the new. Who the frick cares?
Well, it's two groups are doing the same. Two groups are like doing the same thing, but one is taking extra steps. Like Pathfinder, Paizo is having their new version of the original handbook, but they're basically saying, they're not saying it's fully compatible. They're like, hey, yeah, you know, all this stuff will be published up on, like, online archives of Nethys. If you want to see all the updates, you can see the new updated stuff, and you can convert to it. There you go. That's it. We're done. You know, here's the new stuff. We're putting it up. You can see it. These are just mostly rules clarifications. We're not taking major steps, and they're like, I think from the sounds of it, they don't want to revisit that until they would make Pathfinder 3, you know, down the line someday in the future. While this one's like, well, maybe we could revisit it and tweak up some stuff and add some things and change some stuff around. The living RPG.
It's basically, they're not committing, and they're basically saying, hey, we're going to try this thing, and if people hate it, then we can just change it. But then that'll just add more confusion, and we're going to act like this doesn't matter.
There is a reason that the concept of the video game live service has done overall terribly in the long term, because you can have a couple of those where they're constantly evolving games, but they take a lot of time because you have to relearn stuff and things change. You have to redo more stuff. This is a little kind of simpler. It's a live service tabletop game. Instead of, getting a lot more content and stuff, which you already get anyway, it's the idea that the rules are changing and evolving. You have to constantly relearn them, which is an extra level on top of I'm just playing the game and doing the stuff, which is already a little bit more time-consuming than the video game version. So it's, again, but also live services. There's too many of them, they didn't work, and they're too much of a time constraint, and I hated them anyway. But anyway.
There's still live service games if you consider them that way. I'd consider Fortnite a live service game.
Oh, there's still some that, like, the old ones can be relatively successful because they were the first one in there, and they have plenty of people that are willing to put the time into them. It's just that you already got your audience between those couple of games, and the new ones that come out just don't tend to not work because they found their audience.
Again, MMOs can be considered live service, although some of the, like, World of Warcraft, you have to pay for each expansion, kind of.
You do. I don't know, there's this... Again, it's sort of comparable. The term maybe works rather than the actual concept, perhaps.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about honestly, I think there's a lot more live service games, just ones that update periodically and add more content. A lot of there's actually a surprising amount of indie games that do that. But no, it works with video games though, because guess what? You update all the old rules, and everyone has the new rules.
And
everyone
a lot of the rules...
purchased the old rules in a live service game has the new rules when it updates.
And it's also built into the system, so you don't necessarily need to know all those changes. You need to know what those changes
sometimes
mean.
You have to learn what those changes.
I know you learn those changes, but... You'd learn how they affect your character, but like in the core of it, you don't have to know whether they change the ones and zeros and all the numbers and stuff. You just have to know, oh, this works this way now instead of the way it used to. I have to use it this way instead. And it might take you some playing around with it. But you get all those, like, numbers in front of you in a tabletop role-playing game.
What I find funny is Paizo can make a live service thing because guess what? They make everything available to everyone when they need it.
Mm-hmm.
But D&D, it's like, we're going to make it malleable, but we're going to update the book regularly. You're going to have to buy new ones every time if you want to keep up to date with things. I feel like that's where this is going.
Well, it's like...
Oh, and we don't print the old ones anymore, so you have to buy the new ones. They're compatible. Trust us. Just buy our new one if you want to use the new one. You don't have to, though, but it's also going to be completely different and more balanced or less balanced, or this class is going to be better, so you better buy it.
So that if your friend's playing this other one, you can play the better version. If they buy it, they can play the better version of one and outshine you. Mm-hmm.
Though, to be fair, there really is the end point of this, which is... People just share the book anyway. I'm a GM, I have the book, I'll just give them the information. I don't care. You know?
I mean, that's harder to do. That's harder to do with online games, which I think is where a lot of us have transitioned to, but in life games, that is possible.
Yeah. And actually, that's the one thing where it's like, by not selling PDFs, you can't do that. Which is the main reason they don't sell PDFs, by the way.
Yeah,
to try and force online players to all buy a book.
Oh yeah, no.
I feel like that really is the main reason.
With the environment of tabletop RPGs over the last decade changing from in-person to much more online, which I feel like it really has, because it's a lot more convenient. We don't have to travel. We can all, I can eat here in my room and play games with you and not have to worry about ordering food or picking up food or something like that, and I can take my breaks and maybe not interrupt people. Online has evolved very heavily, and they're taking advantage of that fact for greed rather than convenience. Providing PDFs, providing things online are really good resources that really help people out online and make them really enjoy the game a lot more. And I'm not saying that people don't love 5e, but in the last decade, 5e has certainly shifted from that pen and paper, I'd play it with my friends, to an online game. So, if I'm going to play, you know what I'm going to use? My first edition Player's Handbook. Because I don't, it's what I have. If I could afford all that, you aren't in a position to buy them all. Am I in a position to buy them all? I have a job, but it's not a big paying job. It pays most of my bills, and that's it. So.
Yeah. Oh, wait, your job pays your bills? If if I didn't live at home with to be fair, if
I don't pay rent, so
yeah,
you know.
Like, no, and I don't pay rent either. If I had to pay rent, I wouldn't be making enough.
Oh no,
even with like, here's the thing, like rent in California right now is like between $2,000 and $2,500 a month.
I've never been in a position to actually move out.
Yeah, that's literally over half of my income a month.
I'm in a position to make do in the current life. Barely.
And then you wonder why I have so much free money. It's because I'm not paying that much because I'm living at home right now.
But it's the thing is, I don't know if I would buy the New Player's Handbook because I would want to know what's in it, and it would be at most, if I would get it and purchase it, it would honestly be part of my second job, which is content creation online. You know?
Yes.
I have a part-time job, and then I have two part-time jobs almost, you can say right now. Maybe content creation online, I'm trying to be a little bit more full-timey, but it's hard to do, kind of balancing schedules and life and family and stuff like that.
I'm sure if you can get a tax write-up with that.
Probably if I earned enough for that to matter.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to get a, like, bigger return.
Let me put it this way. Last year was a pretty bad year overall. I started earning more online, not a lot more, but and all my other sources of income, it was combined enough, low enough, that I technically, and I had enough write-offs with documentation of spending and stuff like that, that I didn't have to basically file taxes. It was a complex thing of, like, being basically poor. Last year was
anyway. Maybe
we should move on to topic. Yeah, it's hey, look at this.
Today.
Yeah,
We should call this tabletop tangents.
Tabletop tangents. Hey, this is a really neat one that I saw. I know of the game Android Netrunner, and I saw this Dicebreakers article about it. That apparently Richard Garfield, who designed Magic the Gathering, also did Android Netrunner, and because the community has been keeping it alive, he's expressed interest in possibly coming back and maybe designing some new cards himself. Because though it's not really like a successful product line that people are selling and stuff really anywhere, I think Fantasy Flight Games was the one that was publishing it, and they ended that. It's in this weird place that the fans of it actually keep it going. And I thought Android Netrunner was kind of this interesting idea. I'm going to say here, Fire. I hope that doesn't get too loud near me. It reminded me, partially, because of certain mechanics in it, of, honestly, Cyberpunk and Shadowrun. Because it was basically a lot of their online matrixy stuff. Matrix is the term for, Shadowrun. I forget what it's called in Cyberpunk. The online hacking kind of stuff. It was supposed to be like the mega corporation versus the hacker kind of game is what it was. So you'd have one person have a mega corporation deck with specifically like cards to their deck where you could buy pre-published decks. Then you could also get little boosters to like add stuff to your decks, or other sets that would provide cards for like different runners or decks and stuff, and you'd each build your decks and go against each other. It was a very interesting two-player game that was very complex because it of interaction of trying to hack and defend kind of thing like that. It's an interesting game, and again, but it is like okay, so it was here it is. Over a decade, launching a card hacker and Megacorps from the original shared setting, the tabletop. So it was with Cyberpunk 2020. That's why it was familiar, because Cyberpunk 2020 and Shadowrun have very similarities in the original versions of them when it came to hacking and stuff like that, and a lot of the terms. And because those were very Cyberpunk, the concept, and some of the early Cyberpunk stuff. But I knew it was somewhere, so it was Cyberpunk 2020. That's technically connected with. Okay, cool. I just saw that here in the article. I didn't actually. But it's neat that he's
Yeah.
Richard's willing to come back to it and work on more stuff, just as I guess for fun more than anything, because the fans have kind of taken over the love of it.
Yeah, apparently there are probably about, based on what I can find quickly, like 4,600 cards in this trading card game.
Well, it's not a
which isn't-
TCG. It's a CCG.
Collectible card game?
Yes,
Oh, so you can
Because-
just buy and collect them.
because the products that were sold were set. I wouldn't buy expansion packs. I would buy this pack of these cards every time, so you only have to buy the product once if you needed
That's
it for your
nice.
decks. Mm-hmm.
That's
So it's like,
see,
Yeah.
now I want to buy it so I can play it because that sounds like what trading card game should be.
again, like,
Could you imagine if Magic did that? Man, they'd probably make not as much money because people don't gamble.
it doesn't have the gambling, and again, like, I feel like one of the disadvantage I always found with it is there is only a set number of like variations on stuff, and things are a little like you can't really bring in a lot of cards from other corporations. Like if I'm talking on the corporate side of things, because I remember the last time me and Joe had bought a bunch of stuff, and I built the corporate deck, and he built a Netrunner deck using from multiple places. But like as the corporation I was playing, I could only bring in a few cards from other corporations. I had to mainly use cards from my corporation. And that doesn't mean you don't provide cards from other places for that corporation. It's just you're kind of... It limits in a way, but it also makes it very easy to get into, I guess, in a way. So it's like, it's a collectible card game, I feel like, isn't this... It's both good and bad. You know, it's got its... it's like most things, it's got its advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I
yeah,
thought
but
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean, you could in theory make a collectible card game that has the same kind of mechanics as a trading card game.
Sure, I think you
Um,
could. I don't think
But it is
Magic
true,
as
it
it
is true
exists
that-
you could. But I think a game like Magic could be made.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I'm just saying, like, that's not what I was saying. I was saying the second, not the first. But
Oh, yeah.
it's just generally these games, collectible card games, do try and make more complete sets. In fact, there is
Mhm.
one that I had that was kind of a bit of a mixed bag like that, where it's all like you really could mix and match, although you did have to. The problem was you only had a certain number of primary units. So basically, like was this game called Mage Wars that I have. That's a collectible card game.
Mhm.
And the annoying thing about it is that like the real limitation is that you have a certain number of mages. Like when I last checked on it, I don't know if it's still going. I could look and see. But when I played it, there were like 4 in the main set, and then I had like 2 expansions that each had 2. So there's like a total of like 8. So think decks based around 8 characters, which isn't a lot.
Yeah.
But if they really expanded that and did a lot more, I could see that one going a lot better.
I also think that one of the things that I liked about this entire thing is this isn't the first community that I've heard have drawn on a game and actually like continue to do stuff for it. Vampire the Eternal Struggle? I think that's what it is. The Vampire the Masquerade card game. I remember back in my early days of the channel here, I actually was following the fact that like there was still a very big presence of communities that would make stuff for it. And eventually some more products were kind of put out, some print and play stuff.
I guess Mage Wars is more of a board game, but it's like kind of like a mixture between a board game and a card game.
That happens. But it was interesting that there was like that community support that kept things kind of going. And I like that about this. And I'm glad that, you know, again, it's a cool game. I can understand, like, Fantasy Flight has some weird ways of doing things, so I can understand them not, you know, having some trouble with certain things and kind of cutting products or stuff, or maybe some connections with Asmodee or something. But at least it's very interesting. And I'm glad that Richard Garfield's giving some support.
Yeah.
Cool. Want to talk about a goose-based apocalyptic game?
Maybe.
I provide you with One Honk Before Midnight. Goose Hijinks Tales of the Honk Pocolypse. It's
I wonder what inspired this game.
I know what. Well, yes, it was
Untitled Goose Game.
Untitled Goose Game. That's what I'm trying to think of. It's very untitled Goose Game, but it's basically dealing with the Honk Apocalypse or something. It's apocalypse because not because you're in the apocalypse, because you're hearkening the Honk Apocalypse. Geese must rule the world.
So the geese have 4 stats: heroism, observation, nimbleness, and chaos spelled with a K.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Your attributes are honk.
Mm-hmm. You shall bring forth the great Honk Apocalypse. I do like the perfectly normal human picture that's here. That's just like 2 geese on top of each other on a trench coat. Oh no, sorry, 3 geese on top of each other in a trench coat.
I only see a picture of a person. What are you talking about?
It's perfectly normal human. You're right. I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
Yeah, I think you're seeing things.
Definitely.
I do love the apocalypse art murals.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Look,
the Hydra geese.
The Hydra geese, yes. it's a interesting thing. The Age of Goose, the Fall of Goose, and the prophesized Return of Goose. Look. It seems like a very silly game, and honestly, that's why I just like talking about it sometimes. It's just silly. And you can, for £8 British, which is about $10 US, you can get a PDF of it and enjoy silly goose-based adventures. It's funded. It's basically Untitled Goose Game, the TTRPG.
Yep.
So I don't think I got anything else to say about that other than I really liked that and I wanted to talk about it for a second. Yeah, I saw that.
One Honk Before Midnight.
One Honk Before Midnight. Hey, just because it's shouted out and I like that they're giving more support for it, Modifius has given us a PDF of a Fallout RPG adventure. It's a 28-page adventure with 3 acts for characters 1 to 5th level, and you're exploring Skull Canyon. Mysterious Skull Canyon. And it's a conflict between the New California Republic and some peaceful mutants of Skull Canyon. Peaceful!
That snake has 2 heads.
It's Fallout, of course it does. I mean, that's the... I just use the excuse either it's a mutant, an experiment, or a little bit of both.
I was going to joke. That snake has 2 heads, similar to a current snake.
Oh God. It's $7.48 for the PDF. Yes, and you could play the adventure yourself. I mean, I like it when they put out adventures like this and stuff. These are good little products that Modifius keeps doing. So keep on you, Modifius. Good products. Oh, English. All right. So
I didn't check to see.
I got 2 more topics, which spread into 3 different things before we're gone for now. And let's talk about God of War. God of War 2018, I think, was the new game. So, Come On Games is doing a board game based on it. Because they do I don't know if they've done video game board games. They might have. There are a lot of, video game, more board games, and tabletop stuff a lot more. Okay, they did do a Bloodborne board game. and a God of
Yeah.
War card game before, but now there's a
I mean, a
board game.
lot of people are
miniatures.
trying to get the video game community into their things. I mean, that's a big thing.
I mean, there are plenty of video games which make decent adaptations to board games. I'm not going to lie about that. I
Yeah.
don't know how much this one is.
Baldur's Gate, for example.
I feel like there is a place for it of like an epic journey and going on like adventures and stuff like that in a miniatures game that could work. I'm just curious as to how they build it using this, you know.
We can't share many details right now. Great.
They show a couple of miniatures out of Kratos and Atreus, his son.
Yeah.
I won't spoil things for a game from 5 years ago, but spoilers, there's stuff in it that, you know, you can also play the second game too. I haven't played
Kratos
either of
has
them.
a son?
I know, Kratos has a son. I haven't played either, but I've watched through them because I wasn't going to buy a PS4 or PS5.
Yeah, I should play. Honestly, I'd love to play through the whole series.
Yeah,
At some point.
I thought I enjoyed the first 3 games, but I also like when I watched the people come back to the 2018 version, that it felt like Kratos had an actual like good arc, that it was like you could feel the old one from the games there, but he had like been tapered by like a long time of like living with the shit he had done, you know, and up now I've got a son now, fuck man, now I gotta like actually get better about my life again, you know, man. You know, I was all about anger and God and deity murder, you know, man. Now I've got to, like, you know, raise a kid and be a decent father. Crap. Haven't had that for years.
Yeah.
Anyway. But,
Not much to talk about because there's not really anything here yet. It's just that
I know. I just wanted to, like, kind of throw it out there. We're not going to see
fine.
more. We're not going to see more about it until next year. We'll talk about it again when we know more, because I am curious about this one. Again,
No,
it's like...
it's fun to note that it's happening. I'm just also like, that's it. That's all we have right now.
Yeah, but it's the thing is, I can see this working for a miniatures more type board game. I want to see if they make it work, you know,
Yeah,
for a
it's
property.
like, yeah, I mean, it's like, what kind of way are they going to go? It could be like a big fight thing, like maybe there's a fight thing, or maybe it's an adventure thing, or maybe it's a collectible card. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. I'm curious. It's got my interest, but they're working on it. It's a property that's a fun property that I think would work well if they do it right, but we'll see. So, for our final topic today is technically 2 in 1, because it's just Pre-League Press has announced 2 things. A Kickstarter that's coming out, and a book that is going to be released soon? Or is it out now? For the, I'm assuming the pre-order. It's pre-order for PDF for the thing. Anyway, they've got a new Blade Runner book and a new RPG coming out from Freely Press. So the people that do Aliens and Lord of the Rings and Blade Runner, yeah, I'll link the new Blade Runner book that they've talked about, Fiery Angels, which it's investigation scenarios, handouts, photos, and more. So it's basically adventure. It's basically adventure stuff, which is great material for that kind of thing. It gives you an idea of how to, you know, build your own adventures or stuff like that. It's a standalone adventure, but it does continue story elements for their first case file. Yeah. That's about it. They're doing more of these. That's a pretty good way to kind of handle the Blade Runner stuff. But then talking about the other one, kind of like shouting out like the Fallout stuff. We're getting the Electric State, which it's a role-playing game based on narrative art book, The Electric State. That's why I also wanted to mention this, because I didn't know much about the Electric State novel, I guess it would be. By Simon Stalag? Yes. It's a group of travelers heading on a journey through a strange America in an alternate 1997. Gigantic battle drones, high-tech conspiracy, and kind of stuff like that. It's going to Kickstarter on December 5th. We can probably talk about it a little bit more then. But it's probably going to be... It's the same system, or probably going to be a similar system to Tales of the Loop and the Walking Dead Universe RPGs, because the same person that wrote those two is writing this one, Nils Hintz. But it's also working with the people that did the Blade Runner, Dragonbane, and Alien RPG. So I gotta be honest, I don't know how much Free League keeps similar systems or has different systems for a lot of their games. So we're gonna have to see if it's another system a lot like the systems they use in Aliens and Blade Runner and stuff like that, or if it's something unique or closer to things like Tales from the Loop. I'm curious about that. It has
a giant robot with a bunch of people connected to
yeah,
robot. That's creepy.
it is a very weird kind of robot creepiness kind of thing, and it looks like the novel is a dystopian science fiction set in the alternate year of 1997 about a teenage girl and her robot journey through a technology-ravaged southwestern United States. And so it's probably about a technology-ravaged land and dealing with these weird giant robots in an alternate world from the 90s.
Yeah.
Interesting concept.
Our little weird robot buddy, which is honestly, in my opinion, a little creepier than some of the things, some of the robots.
Yeah, you might get your own weird, creepy robot buddy in this game. Join it. It's your friend. Friend. Anyway, I thought I also want to shout that one out. We might revisit it. Maybe, maybe not when it comes to Kickstarter. The topic I chose today, I was actually gonna go about because of stuff that happened in the game this week. We could talk about it, but we already did have a huge discussion on Wizard stuff.
Yeah.
Oh god. That was a hell of a topic we got into there. Let's at least talk about our week and see how that goes. How did Baldur's Gate go for you? I'll ask that first.
I didn't do a lot this week because I was super off, so I didn't end up streaming a lot because daylight savings time murdered me. But I did otherwise kind of finish up around Rivington, which is the area right outside Baldur's Gate.
So progress.
Yeah. And I need to decide if I want to murder or be a nice person.
Choices. Murder or niceness. It's a hard one. Alright. Do anything else tabletop other than Wednesday this week?
No, just Wednesday.
Because I had, I did indeed have, Wednesday this week for me. Which was, Crimson Queen. You guys finished off your arch nemesis, technically. And then, the king died, and chaos broke out in the city.
Yeah, I'm really, this is definitely one of those plot hooks where I'm a little you could, as players, really just dissemble. Yeah, it's someone else's problem. If we really wanted to. It's not actually a great hook, I'll be completely honest.
The transition is very hard, and I looked at it, and I think I didn't do the transition as good as I could have.
I don't think there is a great way to have done it. I think you did fine. You started to, preempt it and stuff, even when we were going down. That's fine. I'm just saying, it's not the transition, it's the fact that we literally ended, and I thought, the only thing we have is in this dead guy's suitcase was something that belongs to the queen,
who's now in charge of the entire city.
And that's your hook to continue forward. I'm just all it's not a very good hook to hook the players in when they all built around this guy, you know?
Again, it was, as much as it was pretty well, you think, I do have to say, like, on my end, for knowing how things kind of shape out, I think some of the transition stuff and the way that it worked, I didn't play as well to make it feel like it was a better transition. Like, honestly, I think there are some things I could have done that could have also helped keep you cohesive to a degree, because I think that was it worried me when you all split apart. Like, that was the point in time where you didn't stick together and you all split apart, that things became a concern for me, and I knew I had screwed up to a degree. That was me screwed. It worked.
I disagree.
It worked because I made it work, but that was actually a mistake.
I still think that everyone had their own things in the city, and the city's burning. I don't think that's on you. I think that's players being players. And actually looking out for their interests.
That's true.
Again, I just don't think that I'm just saying, like, I know this is a really good, this is considered a really good adventure path, one of the better ones. But I still think that they could have moved the hook a little bit backwards. You know?
Yes. No, I agree. The way that that's the thing is, it's the thing that is, I think, the disadvantage, but also works to this adventure, is this first one is very fast moving. And I think that's what it is. They couldn't really move the hook back with the way that it's fast moving. But because just the way things work is it kind of establishes a line very quickly. And it's sort of like, I also feel there's information or emotions which make it kind of, which I didn't get until we're talking about it. Like, there was some outright dismissal towards the queen that was just interesting in my book, that players were giving in such a way that I'm like, you guys don't really know what's going on. Only one of you has an eye to, like, to nobility. The rest of you would just know there was a king and queen. And honestly, most of you might actually have hostility more towards the king, who's now dead, if anything. Like, in a lot of the, because a lot of you are pretty lower class. Like, middle class society to upper class society blame the queen a lot nowadays, because it was a shift when she got married. But the low class society just knows the king taxes us really badly. You know? So
what was the thing? I kind of missed that. What was the thing about the queen, like, not bringing food in? Did she just, like, forget?
Well, no. What had happened was, and here's the series of events. The king dies.
Yep.
The queen takes over. The royal guard, the people that are in the place there, transition very decently. The outskirts begin to hear news of it. There is concern with it's basically, there was a breakdown, and there was a number of people that didn't think that the queen should take over originally.
So they
just didn't do their jobs because they didn't want to go revolution. They basically just kind of, like, took a step away from their jobs, and that resulted in
not supporting you. Got it.
Yes, we're not supporting you. You shouldn't be in charge. We should find someone of the king's bloodline or something like that. There was a lot of that in the town, probably also fueled by connections to a lot of the noble class who doesn't really want her. So basically we have a secure palace with its people that probably knew the queen more and were loyal to both king and queen a lot more. The second group of people that are not really loyal, but were like, kind of like, they probably weren't as loyal as they needed to be to the king. King's dead now, no loyal to the queen. Now, because things have been so tightly controlled and taxed and stuff, there was nobody waiting, a lot of ships basically turned around, like, caravans just left, things like that. There wasn't anybody collecting stuff, or they were collecting a lot more than they should, they were going to, like, absolute corruption because they thought they'd get away with it, and so there was just not, like, a rapid deflux of goods coming into the city from basically the morning. So, by afternoon, already, you don't have food in the city anymore.
When did she get inaugurated?
She hasn't, technically.
Oh, so she just transitioned, like, when did the king die then?
that morning?
Probably that morning, I would say.
Oh gosh.
So
it was very much, we're not supporting this, and then people didn't do their job, and then other people are like,
the city was already probably like the city was already probably in this kind of like razor thin position where just enough supplies come in and things are just expensive enough. So now, without food supplies, prices go up very quickly. People can't buy food. They start getting disgruntled very angrily. And then by evening time, all these like a lot of angry people, and probably maybe some driven by nobles, start to riot. And things break down very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that noble aspect, where it's all like, let's try and get people riled up to try and get rid of this queen we don't like, you know?
Mm-hmm. But again, like...
I think, honestly, it takes instigation for it to go that fast, in my opinion. Because, like, I feel like food is very important, but it would still take a day or two for the food in the city to run out.
Oh, yeah, no.
The point of where people would start to have issues.
Yeah, I think it was also, again, that it's the supplies in the city were kept to a very, like,
There's
lower
also
minimum.
There also is a lot of corruption, so people would probably be like, hey, wait, food's not coming in. I'm going to jack up the price, because people can't get in anywhere else.
Oh, yeah. So it's supplies, corruption, and basically people that have some traitorous like mentality that maybe aren't going like full, we'll have a revolution, maybe just trying to get better positions, take out, rivals, or instigate people to do the job for them, kind of things like that.
Or even just like hoarding the food because they're afraid that they might not get more, lots of stuff. Yeah, I get it. It's like a many-factored thing. I get it. It's just like, I'm like, just food wouldn't be enough, but a lot of other little factors could definitely pile up very quickly.
And again, the city was kind of on this... It was on this teetering edge for the longest time, basically maintained by order and probably, honestly, a little bit of the strength of the royalty, the king, combined with the fact that, because again, like, the king, as kind of annoyed he was by the lower people, the nobles probably liked him in general, like at least accepted him that he did a job right. And so it's sort of like this all of a sudden, who do we have in charge now? The one person no one wants in charge.
Yeah.
And there was another factor that actually probably drove the nobles that you guys don't know about, which I can say now, the seneschal, the person that was basically making sure the kingdom kept in order while the king was sick, had disappeared a few days ago.
Oh, that's also very interesting.
So, you don't know about that now.
Yeah.
No, that's not well known. The nobles might know about that. Like, Cell's character probably doesn't know about that, necessarily.
But maybe that guy we saved would.
Mm-hmm. But he's not saying anything about it, because he's not asking.
Obviously, he's also terrified and hiding.
Yeah, he's terrified and hiding. But it's this entire thing that, like, it's this series of events that they do set up in a way it makes sense that things break down incredibly quickly. So it's sort of like, we don't have this person that would have basically helped the queen take charge in place, so they're like, who the hell's going to help the queen? So that's also like driving the nobles not trusting what's going on. The person that should be there next to her, making sure this transition might work, isn't there.
Yeah. I found it funny because my character would actually know absolutely none of this. She arrived in the city like 2 days ago.
Yeah, you're the one that probably would know the least. Joe's character probably wouldn't know a lot, just would know that, gut, taxes, that kind of thing.
I mean, but he's at least been here for a few years. You tend to know about the royalty and the place you live.
You might know about the king's name. The queen, you might know their names. Honestly, that might be my...
You probably know their names, and that people generally dislike them, and that the queen might be a trophy wife. You might not know their actual qualifications and their actual...
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, you know, like, a few bits and pieces.
Probably doesn't know about, like, the queen going off and spending a lot of money and, like, going on, like, things that make her look like she's basically a trophy wife. She acts like acted like a trophy wife.
I feel like you would still hear about that kind of stuff. What I really think you wouldn't hear about is more just, like, again, I think, like, the stuff that I might hear about, like, the Queen is the kind of stuff I would expect, like, the Queen of England is the kind of stuff I would expect someone in a city in a medieval period to know about there, Again,
we've also not been there very long, so
no,
that might
not
also...
my character specifically.
But, like, Joe might know some more things, and...
Yeah.
I certainly think Momo and, like, Lynn might know kind of, like, in the middle of stuff.
Momo, Lynn, and Cell would know more.
Cell the most, because Cell has ears with the noble class and knows how to kind of understand them and has had connections there. I think Lynn definitely would have some connections because of getting into, trying to become part of the guards, you know. And Momo, even though they went to the lesser of it, still went going to a magic college, still a place that information is going and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, basically, Joe's character would probably know pop culture about the rulers, whereas the other two would probably know more of the political landscape about the city's political landscape about the rulers, and so would know the intricacies of the political landscape about the rulers.
Yeah. So, Corvosa is a city that is very, very true neutral. They really live up to it, because there's this, like, there are plenty of people that are great people. There are plenty of people that are really corrupt, too. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. It's basically a big spectrum. Honestly, I consider it a little bit leaning towards lawful evil.
I think it does lean towards, like, lawful neutral. Because lawful neutral, the corruption kind of comes from, like, lawful evil people that take advantage of the system and use it, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Lawful neutral. So there's some good people, some bad people, but a lot of corruption, but also a lot of people trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find a lot of soup kitchens and stuff. Yeah.
There are places to support the people that are in the worst parts of town, but there's certainly a lot worse places to live in Galarian, fortunately.
Now, I do have a question. Is there another route besides taking this brooch to the queen?
Yes and no.
Okay. So basically, like, direct your players to, like, interact with this as much as possible.
The thing is, because one of you knew about it right away that opened up stuff, the other routes come about if you don't know about it.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. And basically, I used a little bit of your undead / magic item gypsy person, or I'm sorry, Varisian person. They're not gypsy, but Varisian. I can't say that. That's probably bad. Anyway, Varisian person.
That is a bad. That is considered bad.
I have to be nice about that, and I tried to say that because, unfortunately, it's the thing that they're very different culture. Anyway, I try to. I'm tired now, so I apologize for my stupidity.
It's pop culture slips in. It's fine.
Yeah, the Varisian woman. Basically, I try to give you that push of, like, you should go over there. It's important. The idea that she was trying to give you at the end was, like, if you don't go that way, where I can kind of see into your futures ends very quickly. You know, as if maybe something violent happens to you because there's a lot of chaos in the city, you know, sort of like, while, yes, there seems to be some problems with your future if you go that way, but I at least can see farther.
Yeah. Okay. It's just like, I'm just kind of like, okay. Because I'm just like, could you fence it? Could you do, well, what happens if you do stuff like that?
There actually have rules for fencing it. No, again, none of you have underworld connections. And even most underworld fences on their own would not take it. Because it is like, it is a very hot commodity.
That's one of those things that you would have to actually melt down and re-alter to make so get any value out of it, because it's so well known.
Yeah. But again, you know, that comes down to find a place that you can do that at.
Value.
Yeah. You froze up again for a second.
I don't know what's going on with my internet.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent job because meeting with the Queen kind of opens up the story in a way that I think hopefully would work, especially with how things have gone with your characters. I feel like it will. And, hopefully we'll kind of lead things in the correct direction because that'll kind of open up the story. But sort of like there is this pivotal point in time where the story, for the sake of pushing forward, drives you from here to the Queen, and it does feel fast, but I don't, like, I did try to think about it, and I didn't have a much easier transition. It was just trying to do the transition just in the right way, I guess, or expressing it the right way that I think I could have maybe made a little better. It's just, this is a very difficult too, because sort of like, I ended up using, like, I didn't know how many of these, because there's a bunch of, like, events that can happen in the town, related to you, and I used a few of them. Like, I was thinking, like, I used the drunk guy was one of the events too. I didn't do the one thing you could do with him because I thought it was stupid, which if you try to convince him to leave, one of the things is he tries to duel one of you. And I was like, that's stupid. You can just,
Especially because it was the mage.
Yes. The rich guy, I changed that a little bit to him being in a building, because normally he's just out in the street and a mob's about to beat him to death, which is a little bit more extreme. But then
that's more extreme and a lot harder to get out of.
Yes. And also the fact is, by making it that maybe you're less inclined to try to protect the noble, because it's like, you're not all very good people to immediately do that, and make it down, hey, they're trying to smoke him out because they're really angry and try to set fire to things, and that's probably a bad idea in this section of town. Makes it a little less, more protective of the overall town, and I think is a better way. I think that handled that a little bit.
Protecting the town is a little bit better than protecting the noble, because it's like, well, we gotta get going. We've got more important things to deal with. He can fend for himself,
Yeah.
It's definitely much more likely in a chaotic good kind of party.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, like, I feel like the way they displayed is sort of like it required your party to be very good almost to use that one. And then, I did have the meeting with the lady, but I did like how you guys really wanted that gnome. I mean,
so my character didn't care. I was totally fine with, like, just releasing him.
But Joe was like, we should probably...
Yeah, like, I know, Momo's character wanted to kill... Yeah, Momo's character wanted to kill him. Joe's character was just like... Was his... He should face justice, or did he go with a kill him round 2?
He went with Cell's character. We should check in with them. Lucia. Because Lucia knew him personally, from the sounds of things.
Yeah. Right. He was default to others' opinions.
Yeah.
I was like, we should just take him in. Hey, he's done bad things. Why not just let him, like, my character's just all like, there could be a reward, too, It's like, my character's...
Things will calm down, and you probably could have theoretically at some point taken him in, but it was kind of like, it just was a big hassle, too.
Yeah. No, my character's also like, we might as well release him. Like, what's the worst that could happen?
He doesn't show up again in the store, I'm gonna tell you.
I know. Unless we force it.
You could, but he really just doesn't want anything to do with any of you. If he survives. No, actually, there is an entire list of, like, a couple of different things that can happen if Lamb survives that are listed in it. You're frozen up.
No,
if you're hearing this.
I can hear just fine. This thing's like, I could try leaving and rejoining real fast.
Okay, maybe try that. See if that works. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, this seems to be better. I'm not choppy anymore. I was choppy before.
But, like, I actually did have a whole list of, like, I had, like, 3 different options that I could use if Lamb survives and gets away.
Interesting.
All 3 of them would involve you re-encountering him in the future, but, sort of like, he gets away for now, which, it's sort of like, I feel like they're there as a just in case, because he does try to run away, but I'm also like, I'm not going to force the point of any of those. I think him escaping may have also helped force the point, but it's also like, it's so contrived, it must happen by chance.
I agreed, yeah. If he just somehow had the health to run away, we all would have been like, wait, what?
I mean, he had a very little health to begin with, because he had, like, a very low constitution because of negatives, because he just, like, lost a lot of stuff. He was old. It did a lot of damage to his stats. He was actually, like, I think, like, CR 6, or level 6.
Oh, okay, I'm like, CRs?
Well, in his heyday, he would have been CR 5, I think, is what we would have said. But having the old template, basically, drove him to a CR 2. his physical stats losing like 6 each, especially because he wasn't a spellcaster, really drove it down.
What was the CR of the alligator?
I think also like 2. 1 or 2.
Man, that almost killed my character.
It does a lot of damage.
I had 2 health left. After that.
I mean,
so I'm like, you guys can deal with it. I'm gonna go attack the old man.
in the next turn, if it had grabbed you, it would have death rolled on the next turn, which would have just been nasty. It's not
like automatic damage, right?
Like
escape the grapple.
It has to roll a grapple check to maintain it, and if it does, which it does actually have a pretty good bonus. Like, I rolled pretty terribly for it not to grapple me, which was good for you, but like, you know.
Oh, I would have 100% did.
Yeah. Well, they could have maybe killed it. It didn't have a lot of hit points, and killing it beforehand would have been the thing to do. You know, they did, and actually, Cell putting it to sleep also. You know, that probably would have saved you or something. Because I think its will was like +1. So yeah, there were options still, but it wasn't a. It would have put you in a very dangerous position to be grabbed by it. Yeah. And in the water with it, honestly. So yeah, I think we'll kind of move on to the next section pretty easily since we've decided to go to the Queen. But it was like I felt like we managed in the back end, but I probably could have done it a little better. I don't think I did terrible, but I think I could have made it that it had a better transition for something that is a little bit rushed for that. And then broke up again. With an interesting look. I'm gonna eat more pasta.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You broke up for a second.
Yeah. Oh, I just think, like, honestly, like, can see why this is, like, a good one. Like, I think there's a lot of good pieces here already. For the, I just think the beginning hook for all the players is just very, yeah. I think it's just very loose. It's not tight enough to really solidify a random grouping of people.
The thing is, the revenge kind of justice aspect is a pretty good spot to get all of you together. It doesn't cement it perfectly.
And
but
that's the problem. It doesn't cement it. And that's what I'm complaining. I just don't think it's very good. It doesn't cement very well as a plot.
I think maybe, like, I didn't have a great way of using his banter or something to, like, you know, all harass you and piss you all off, because that would have been more of the thing, too, a little bit. Possibly, I don't know, there's...
And I can tell the book says he doesn't say anything about anything. It's like, gosh...
Oh, no, he gives me some stuff. He insults all of you, you know? That's basically what the book says, is he starts off by, like, barking insults at all of you and stuff like that, and making fun of you, and you know, anybody he knows directly, he would, like, say something to and make negative comments, so... He does work on all of you to begin with. It's just that cement. It's both good and bad for a hook, I think, unfortunately, because again, like, I didn't know how successful the hook was going to be until we were doing it, is the thing too. I think the nature of this type of hook, it looks good on paper, but you do not know how it will roll out and ride through until you actually use the hook.
Thankfully, you have a good group of players. I mean, any moderate group of players knows they have to find reasons to stick to it. But that's the thing, is, like, I have worked with players who are all like, my character doesn't care, I'm just gonna walk away now. I got what I wanted. I'm just like, what are you trying to do here? But, like, as a GM. But, like, there are people like that, and that's what I'm saying, it's not a good hook for getting every type of player.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, unfortunately, I agree with some things that Joe would say for that type of player. It's like, okay, well, thank you for joining us, you can go now, bye.
Yeah, no. And I totally get that as the idea, but it's just like, there's very much this thing where it's just like, I feel like it's just not that kind of, yeah. Anyway, it's more of a, I think, a complaint with the writing, at least for the beginning. I honestly can see this going in a really good way. I can see why people like it. It does have a lot going right away, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But just from that hook perspective, I'm like, they did not build a very strong hook.
They built an okay hook, but it does require a combination of a little work on my end and a little bit of like work from the player's end, honestly, to make it work. There
100%.
I think there have been some stronger hooks that I've seen. Like, I actually feel like something like actually Rise of the Rune Lords has a little bit of better hook. Rise of the Rune Lords, the initial hook, which I can just talk about here, is the town you are living in this town and are members of this town. Hey, the town gets attacked by goblins. You happen to all be in the same place and fight against these goblins. And then, because you helped protect a bunch of people, the town looks at you as a group as heroes. Maybe you didn't know about each other now. You worked together by chance and became a group of heroes. Congratulations. You're associated together in everybody's eyes.
Yeah. Like, I actually think this could have done with one thing where it's like you have to discover where he is.
Yeah.
I think that would have made the hook a lot better. Where it's like there's maybe a small investigation where it's like you have to go like, okay, he was here last. It's like she points us to this place. Oh, okay, this is where he was last, but he's moved already. Okay, now we have to find it, and we can work together on that, and then that could solidify the party. I'm just saying, I think
there is a level. Yeah, I think there's a level of investigation that might have been able to be put in there, but it's like with the way things are set up, especially with you basically getting help from a ghost / magic item, it's kind of a little difficult because she knows what's going on to a degree.
She knows where it is because she's there.
Yeah, because her head and her deck are there, and she's like, "Go, please get them," or something like that. Yeah. I thought about something like adding like a ghostly voice, being like, bring me the deck or something like that. Maybe like one of you hearing that or something might have been interesting. But again, I feel like that would have driven you all as a group a little bit more towards the location there. But the problem is, chaos is supposed to erupt after you're done there, and that might attract you from the chaos a little bit too, and the chaos might attract from that. So that was kind of a hard thing to kind of also add in there because they don't talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And again, it's just very much we're players, we'll work it out. And it was good that you're like, I need it now. And I'm like, okay, let's get this together then.
Yeah. Well, for that one, it was more meant to, like, she wanted to combine the shards of her soul together to, like, be more whole or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do agree it could have waited for more. Or I do think it could have waited for more.
For her, it couldn't, thank you very much. She was very dead and wanted her soul back together so she could be just a magic item that talks to you occasionally.
I get it. My character just feels like she was like
Look, your new intelligent magic item that has the soul of a person inside of it, wants to just be friends and stuff like that and help you out with, like, cryptic messages about the future.
Right. Well, I guess that was our impromptu topic of plot hooks and how they can be done in a way.
Well, I'll change this to, like, intros and plot hooks to unite a group, we'll call it. Intros and plot hooks to unite a group. That's basically what we talked about there. That
turned into a very long discussion. So yeah. That works.
Yeah, it's some of the things that are like, it's unfortunately a both problem and advantage about some of these older adventures. They do give you something, but they do give you pretty good directions to go from, but they aren't all made equal, and I feel a lot of these
part of everything is going to be as strong.
And I feel a lot of these actually come down to, honestly, players. Like, I think that's a lot of them come down to.
And I do like this because it does show it is a good group of players.
Yeah. It's like, I both like and hate that sometimes when you have plot hooks like this. Like, when you have it, like, up to the players a little bit, you are hoping to rely on that you do have no one that's going to be like, I'm just going to walk away, that kind of thing, But, yeah. And theoretically, you shouldn't, but you never know.
If you're running an adventure zone for random people or whatever, or adventure path for randos, at a convention, it can happen.
Yeah, good luck on that one. I've tried stuff for random people occasionally. It's been a mixed bag, let me tell you that.
It is, so it's very much a mixed bag. I totally get it.
So, I think then I did have a game on Thursday. Momo had their game, and we basically, we're gonna have one more session. We killed the big boss, who turned into, like, a big, like, Cthulhu dragon, I could almost call it. And we then killed the Cthulhu dragon also. And the big boss did more damage to the Cthulhu dragon, because the big boss had legendary resistance, and which carried over to Cthulhu dragon. And when Cthulhu dragon was formed, someone held monster it. So, and the next person to act before it could even try to get out of the hold monster was the paladin. So, helpless thing versus paladin with smites and critical, because helpless is automatic critical. So, our paladin did like 100 damage to it. It died quickly. I'm gonna say that. It exploded. Actually, it did explode. It actually exploded. Which, I lived with 1 hit point. It was hilarious. We calculated it. I was alive with 1. I made my reflex save because I had advantage as a barbarian. So, it did me all but 1 of my health. I did blow up, and it was funny. I also, like, absorbed so many attacks from different things. I did like playing a barbarian 5e. It's just something about, like, tanking 1,000,000 hits that seems fun. You know? I have to say that about it. It was fun for my first time playing that. But next week we'll finish up, and one of our players stayed behind to sacrifice themselves to activate a whole bunch of, like, divine artifacts to create basically a effectively nuke that will destroy this, like, ship that can create portals and to close the portal that, you know, so we don't have to worry about void creatures attacking us anymore, that kind of thing, you know, so we've, like, destroyed their forces and, you know, damaged them a lot, and hopefully, yay, we've won the war against the void for now and saved the world, etc., etc. Good. Thank you for sacrificing yourself, Paladin. We'll have a resolution next week. And Joe's game will be not this tomorrow, but the week after that, so we're going to have an entire week to wait before we play. We did confirm that. I talked about tabletop things in the week, and I can shout out what they are if you're interested in that. I talked about more Starfinder species on Tuesday, Taldor and the Taldane human ethnicity on Thursday. Taldor is a very interesting country to talk about, and then the Naga, N-A-G-A-H, were snakes, I talked about today. I talked about that problems with printing name. Thanks, Twitch, for taking this from World of Warcraft shirts. Anyway.
From 4 years ago.
I mean, it honestly, stuff from that could have been in place from 4 years ago. I would not be surprised.
No, I actually think that's what happened. I think it's like they put it in place 4 years ago. Maybe the thing died down, so they removed it for that one, but didn't for the other. That's totally something.
Yeah, they were like, oh, we were supposed to do that thing. Oh, yeah, we didn't. It's very Twitch to remember part of it. Not all of it. Alright. So... Call that. We had a topic. Oh, I have to move the... Artifacts. I'll get that title later.
You can find me.
Yes.
Go. You can find me on twitch.tv/Diamondwyrm, at Diamondwyrm on Twitter. I'll be streaming tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I've apparently been getting that wrong for a while. I've been saying PST during PDT.
All right.
Remember what's what. Yeah. Now it's PST, apparently. I think.
Myself. I talked about it earlier today. I've got a bunch of things that I do need to take care of more than just, you know, normal life stuff. Like, I talked about how I have to honestly clean up a bunch of my room because I have a bunch of things that transferred into here during the interim years since I started doing a lot more, streaming up here a lot more than being in other parts of the house. So I have, like, boxes and piles of stuff that I never sorted out what to do with, and I have to do that and make some space because I'm getting a new computer and I have to set up for a new computer, and I'm going to try to do some of that this week. So I'm taking Monday off, I'm taking Friday off. I am going to stream on Thursday, Tuesday. I'm going to do the Link's Awakening randomizer on that day. Maybe finish it, we'll see. If I can find flippers, I can probably finish the game, honestly, which I'm in a dungeon, so I might. I don't know. Then I'll do Crimson Queen. I don't know about Tuesday and Thursday for tabletop days. I might cancel those, but I'll probably be at least back on Saturday for next Saturday's World of Darkness topic by then, because I'm going to use... that day's busy with other stuff, so I can't really take some time to do like major cleaning projects and stuff like that I just have been putting off for a while. And I'll know after Monday if I'm canceling Tuesday and Thursday. Basically, I'm going to judge how long it's going to take me to do all this stuff. So that's my schedule for next week. I'm going to use it to get some things done, so take a little time off just to do things I need to do that I've been, like, you know, sort of doing, but not always doing, you know, that you kind of, like, either I have time or when I don't have time, I'm not always good at using that time properly, which is just a problem. Time management is always the best. So that's a common problem for a lot of people. Time management.
Time management, but I also have terrible chronic pain, which reduces my energy, and sometimes I just don't have the energy to complete everything I need in a day.
Yeah.
I can get all my work done at work pretty good.
I have this mixed bag on it. Like, there are times when it works very well for me, time management, and other times it just doesn't. Anyway, alright. So, see everybody at least on Wednesday, maybe Tuesday, for this week. Make sure to check out Crimson Queen on Wednesdays, and this show every Saturday. Hope you enjoyed this on, either watching us live or joining us or on YouTube. The schedule this week with scheduled stuff should kind of fix itself. I forgot to put something live yesterday, which is up today, and then I've actually had to redo the Crimson Queen episode twice, not because the video is wrong, but because something is wrong with my player / the settings I put twice. Because I am, I can't, and they're two different mistakes. I made two different mistakes when I'm attempting to render it for YouTube. So, hey, I'm really working well at this. It'll be up probably tomorrow. Hopefully if everything goes right and I rent it again tonight. Anyway, bye everybody. Have a good one. Oh, thank you again for joining,
Bye.
Worm. Bye.
Bye.